Capcom has removed the launching of other players in Monster Hunter Wilds, specifically with the hammer upswing. The hammer is what I main and was planning on maining in Wilds. Now, why do I not like this change? Well, it's not as simple as it was in the game I played and I don't like change. No, that's not it at all. Firstly, let me explain why I care specifically about this mechanic. I was going to play through Wilds mostly as a duo with my buddy who was going to be maining dual blades. During the beta, he noticed that doing a sliding Beyblade attack was a bit harder to pull off in Wilds vs. World. So we found that if I launched him, even at the beginning of the vault, he could perform this attack against a monster.
What is that?
Kill him, dude.
Oh, shit!
That was sick.
I can't believe you landed that.
Yeah. Wait, what is the oath? The long term?
The two pigs that are like, no, brother. It would require a bit of communication, timing, and practice to be able to pull this off at the opportune times during a hunt. We were more than happy to get the time in to improve on this skill. But now that is gone, and what they have replaced it with is far worse in my opinion. Now, instead of getting launched and having the opportunity to perform an airborne attack, you just get knocked over. Even when you are launched, if you missed your attack during the vault, you still landed on your feet. If you fail to do anything while being vaulted, then sure, you now have received all the negatives. This is disappointing. Monster Hunter is, at its core, a multiplayer game. There are not that many player-to-player interactions that you can perform outside of flinching, buffs, and heals if you have the appropriate items or skills. I've seen that launching is seen as griefing or punishing other hunters for a specific hunter's lack of ability and knowledge with their weapon. See, the griefing part to tolerate the removal of this makes no sense. You can grief in so many ways that being launched, whether accidentally or intentionally, isn't that dire. Capcom has already given us the ability to play alone, in a duo, trio, or use completely AI hunters. You do not have to play with randoms who can grief you if this is a fear for you. And let's be real, if someone really wanted to grief, they would intentionally die and use up all of your carts. Griefing and trolling is always a possibility when engaging in online games with randoms. Another thing is that launching isn't just about thoughtful gameplay. You can use it for great moments in the hunt. Launching someone at a monster and they get a mount is like a pure shot of dopamine. I have seen people say that you can just use Sacred to get easier mounts, but again, this goes back to interacting with other humans in my online video game. If I wanted to keep hopping on and off Sacred, then I would just play by myself. But when the option is there, like, why not? It's fun. You can also use the upswing to launch a player out of harm's way if they are stunned or standing somewhere they shouldn't be or can't avoid an attack. I like that in multiplayer you have to pause from time to time to think instead of mindlessly attacking the monster without pause. It feels so unfair to the monster, and it takes most of the thought out of the combat. That's like in Elden Ring. Hosts and their summons don't have friendly fire. There is nothing stopping a host and their summons from just continuously beating on a boss. You can kill them so quickly. And that was such a unique thing about Monster Hunter, is that you're not dealing damage to each other, but you're just stopping each other from being able to perform your attacks. It felt like it gave the monster a fighting chance against an entire group of hunters, and it made you stop and think for 2 seconds. And the reasons that the director gave for removing or reducing friendly fire and launching is really, really disappointing.
Friendly fire is one of those features I think some players enjoy, the bit of the chaos, and they might find it disappointing to hear that it's being reduced, but players who understand it and they know how to avoid it. We've now got crossplay, and we've got a wider range than ever of experience levels of hunters joining the game. Maybe less experienced players would end up knocking everyone around beyond the point where it's still fun, or they might get knocked around and not understand why it's happening and not find that enjoyable, and then they'd end up avoiding going online and playing multiplayer.
Saying that there's people who understand it and know about it and know how to deal with it versus people that don't, well, I really hate to be like this reductive, but that is the developer's job to make it known that it is a mechanic in the game and also let the players know how to deal with it. It feels very insulting to new players' intelligence. It's either that they feel new players are incapable of being taught, or that they're incapable of teaching this. I don't know, it's just a real bummer for me personally. The Monster Hunter team has been so receptive to all the fans' feedback. I mean, Insect Glaive is pretty much completely reworked, Lance got reworked, Switch Axe got reworked. All these things, they brought Hit Stop back. They're clearly listening, but it's just on this, I can't see their reasoning for it, and the reasoning they give is not sufficient enough, and what they've replaced it with is not up to par in my opinion. All the other changes to Hammer that they've made I think are fantastic. I like not having to rely on the clutch claw combos, the weapon flows much more naturally. It's just, why this? I don't know. That's gonna do it for me with this. I'm probably still gonna main Hammer even after all my bitching, but I'm really glad that I've branched out and learned some other weapons and world in case it just doesn't do it for me. But yeah, anyway, until next time.